Coming up on Network Africa. A magnitude 5.5 quake hits eastern Egypt, prompting emergency response plans. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation calls for honest continental conversation on migration. Plus, blind and visually impaired students return to their specialist school in Khartoum, Sudan. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Amarachi Uvani. Let's begin with a wrap of stories and happenings over the weekend.
On Saturday, Benin marked its 66th Independence Day with a military and civilian parade in Cotonou as President Romuald Wadagne presided over his first National Day celebration since taking office in May. In his inauguration speech, President Wadagne pledged to serve the country with integrity, courage and commitment, while building on recent state reforms and improving living standards for Beninese families. Elsewhere on the continent, returning migrants described the hardship behind their failed attempts to enter Ceuta days after thousands of Moroccans surged towards the Spanish enclaves of Ceuta and Melilla. Over recent days, large crowds gathered in Fidek and headed towards Ceuta, triggering a major security operation by Moroccan and Spanish authorities to stop attempted crossings by land and sea. The death toll from the mass crossing rose to at least 67 on Saturday. According to officials, many drowned while trying to swim around the coastal barriers, while others were reportedly crushed in the rush at the frontier. In the southern region of the continent, South Africa's informal markets are coming under growing pressure after attacks targeting migrants drove thousands of foreign workers to leave, leading to labor shortages and the closure of small businesses.
There's a lot of studies that suggest that the contribution of immigrants to the South African economy is much, much more than what you're actually taking out of the economy. Also, what is critically important, if you look, then there's studies that suggest that criminals, in many instances, the majority of immigrants, in many instances, are actually entrepreneurs themselves, and they employ South Africans, and they contribute to the South African economy. So with many of them leaving South Africa because of the recent, let's call it what it is, and it's xenophobia against immigrants in South Africa will be losing that economic energy, so to speak, and it will have a negative impact on the South African economy, and especially on the so-called informal part of the South African economy, which is a very important part of the South African economy.
President Cyril Ramaphosa's government has condemned vigilante action and pledged tougher border and immigration enforcement.
The Egyptian city of Suez has been hit by a 5.5 magnitude earthquake, sending tremors across the capital, Cairo, and several other parts of the country. There's been no record of casualties or significant damage, but authorities have placed emergency services on high alert just as a precaution. The country's health minister, Khalid Ghaffar, has ordered the activation of emergency response plans nationwide and instructed ambulance services to remain at the highest level of readiness. The Egyptian Red Crescent has advised residents to avoid aging and structurally weakened buildings until safety inspections are completed, particularly in densely populated neighborhoods. Strong earthquakes are relatively uncommon in Egypt, although the country has experienced devastating seismic events in the past. Let's head on now to talk migration issues. The Rwandan Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Oliver Nduhungirehe, says Africa must have an honest continent-wide conversation on migration, one that examines why people are leaving their countries, advances the African Union's vision of free movement, and seeks collective solution rather than assigning blame. He was sharing his thoughts with our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa.
This situation of migration on the continent is a legitimate debate to have at two angles. There is a first angle is that one of the flagship projects of the African Union is the free movement of people. There was even, I think in 2016, the African passport, which was launched, but we didn't follow through. But this is a debate that we should have. What is wrong? Why don't we continue addressing the situation? And then the second issue is about the migration on the continent. There's migration on the continent, but also outside the continent. So we should be discussing about the root causes of this problem. What are the root causes of migration? Why are young people leaving their countries to others? But we believe that migration has always existed since the beginning of times. But we believe that it's important to have legal migration, migration that is orderly, that is regular, and for that we need to have a debate around that. And for Rwanda, we are Pan-Africanists. We know that every country can meet challenges about migration issues, and we believe that any debate that we should be having should be a broad thematic debate about this issue. We don't believe that we should point fingers at a specific country. We should discuss thoroughly about the situation and find solutions.
Staying with South African migration issues, it's been a few weeks since over 1,400 Nigerians returned home after fleeing the uncertainty in the country. Returnees are slowly trying to rebuild their lives. While government promises of support have raised hopes, the reality of starting over remains a daily struggle for many. Our correspondent, Bukola Kitumbi, chronicles their experiences and now reports.
Months after fleeing xenophobic attacks in South Africa, many Nigerian returnees are still struggling to rebuild their lives. Our search leads to Robinyo, Abule Joko in Ogun State, where Rachel, an Edo indigene, now lives with her sister. She recounts the challenges of starting over after returning with her children, while her husband, injured in South Africa, remains in Lagos with relatives.
For me, it has not been easy because the kind of life I was living back then in South Africa, I have 3 square meals a day. But right now, to even take 2 square meals is not easy. Sometimes I just told my kids to let's fast till 1 just to make the breakfast to be, you understand, lunch. So that is how we have been living.
Without stable electricity, internet access, or financial support, the family says adjusting has been difficult. Yet Rachel desires to start a business and is wondering where quality education for her children will come from.
My children's education is more important because right now I've been thinking, how are they going to go to school? Because I have nothing doing back here. So we really need help from the government. If they could, they should please come to our aid. I would like to start a business. I would like to start a business of my own.
The internet is bad. There's no electricity. There's no water. The road is bad. The taxis are rusty.
Me, I like Nigeria so far, but it's just the electricity and the roads are bad. So anytime you're just driving in your car, it's not gonna be good.
In Edo State, 41 returnees and their children met with Governor Monday Okpebolo, who promised business grants and continued support.
For other things, we'll give each of you 1 million. not done. Today, if you look at our faces, we didn't come like this from South Africa. It was because the Edo State governor through the agency has decided to feed us, gave us place to sleep, to rest. We have actually been sleeping and eating like we were in the fattening room. Edo State and Your Excellency, we say thank you very much.
Meanwhile, at the OPM camp in Rivers State, some returnees from Imo State said they were yet to receive the 1 million naira support earlier announced by their state government.
I have not gotten anything yet. I have not gotten any money from the Imo State governor yet.
The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission insists some beneficiaries have already been paid.
The million naira, as soon as they arrived, was transferred to their accounts. Then yesterday...
In Delta State, 86 returnees are set to benefit from a 175 million naira resettlement package, with each family expected to receive 2 million naira in monthly stipends.
I feel so happy that our government recognizes us, bring us back from South Africa safely, and make a provision for us. We are so happy. And we also thank Almighty God that make it happen.
For many returnees, lasting recovery depends not on promises, but on timely support that restores dignity and hope. Bukola Joe Oketumbi, Channels Television News.
The Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has renewed its warning against irregular migration, urging Nigerians to avoid dangerous routes through the Sahara Desert and across the Mediterranean Sea. The ministry issued the appeal after its spokesperson, Gimebi Ebiafar, received a Nigerian migrant, George Emmanuel, who recounted his experience traveling through the Sahara before surviving a deadly boat accident in the Mediterranean. According to Mr. Ebiafar, Emmanuel described the harsh conditions migrants face along the route, including a boat capsize that claimed the lives of 28 people. Ebiafar commended Emmanuel for using his experience to campaign against illegal migration, or irregular migration, and raise awareness about the risks associated with human trafficking and unsafe migration routes. He noted that thousands of migrants continue to face exploitation, abuse, detention, and even death in the hands of traffickers and smugglers while attempting to reach Europe through irregular means. He says the federal government is committed to tackling the root causes of irregular migration by expanding economic opportunities, strengthening border security, combating human trafficking networks, and promoting safe, orderly, and legal migration pathways. And more than 40,000 Moroccans have returned to their country after making the dangerous swim across the Mediterranean to the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Contrary to beliefs of the Moroccan government has been helpless in preventing the surge from the country, journalist at Morocco World News, Sarah Zoutian, says Moroccan authorities are working with their Spanish counterparts to resolving the problem of irregular migration. Sarah was guest on our Foreign Affairs program, Diplomatic Channel. What has been the government's reaction to these surge of migrants leaving Morocco for Spain, and unfortunately the at least 60 people who've died, while trying to make the crossover from Morocco to Spain?
Well, unfortunately, everything happened very, very quickly, and Moroccan authorities were confronted with an unprecedented and rapidly developing situation involving a really, really large number of people. We're talking about tens of thousands of people, including children, minors. So Morocco definitely faced a difficult choice, either attempting to stop or reverse such large crowds through force, which could create a really risky situation that could lead to injuries and loss of life. I mean, people already unfortunately lost their life. Many people drowned while making that dangerous crossing. So the alternative was to prioritize humanitarian restraint and coordinate closely with Spanish authorities to contain the situation and facilitate returns. I mean, the majority of people who entered Spain or Ceuta through Morocco have already returned. So Morocco, I would say, moved into operational cooperation with Spain. And this response is important because it does not supports the theory that's been circulating in the midst of these events that Morocco deliberately orchestrated the crisis as a political pressure tactic. So, because if the objective had been to use migration or Ceuta as leverage, it would be difficult to explain why Moroccan authorities were quick to collaborate with Spanish authorities and facilitate the return of the majority of people who entered Ceuta.
You can watch more on Sarah's interview on Diplomatic Channel. It airs on Channels Television at 8:30 p.m. on Sky 515. Still ahead, it is a season of African women's football. Cameroon defeating Ghana in the second round of the group stage matches. Stay with us. Welcome back. August 1st to the 7th every year, GLOBE marks World Breastfeeding Week, highlighting the importance of breastfeeding for health and well-being of both babies and their mothers. Coordinated by the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action, WABA, alongside the World Health Organization and UNICEF, this year's theme, Breastfeeding for a Sustainable Start in Life, strengthens what works, focuses on tracking progress and scaling proven interventions in nutrition, food security and poverty reduction. According to reports, the global rate of exclusive breastfeeding has steadily increased to 48% in 2024, bringing the world closer to the World Health Assembly's global nutrition target of 50%. Many experts say breastfeeding support begins at birth and must continue after discharge. Breastfeeding helps save the lives of both infants and their mothers. We have someone who should know. Joining us now is the founder of Child Health Advocacy Initiative, Dr. Lola Alonge. She joins us via Zoom from her office in Lagos. Dr. Alonge, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be with you today.
So I know, there must have been a lot of discussion around this, the significance of, the week itself, the theme for the week. But let's begin with a progress report so far in exclusive breastfeeding rates. What are the biggest barriers, do you think, it prevents mothers from breastfeeding exclusively for the 6-month period as recommended by doctors and by the World Health Organization?
Yeah, just like you just said, breastfeeding saves lives and it also saves us a lot of money. Breastfeeding is the best nutrition for the baby. Breastfeeding is not just for the benefit of the family, it's also for the nation. So that means we should all embrace breastfeeding. But unfortunately, many mothers want to breastfeed, but it's not, the environment is not enabling, which means they need more support. Starting from the family, for example, you see a lot of mothers struggling with the housework, struggling with other children, which means the support must be there from the family, from the husband, so that the mother can have enough time to breastfeed the baby properly. Then a lot of them also want to continue breastfeeding. Some start when the baby is born, but when like 3rd month, thereabout, they have to get back to work, which means they need support at work as well. And that's why we're advocating for 6 months maternity leave. The good news is many states in Nigeria, for example, they've been able to start implementing the 6 months maternity leave, while some are still on like 3 months and 4 months. So the campaign is out there. We're working with the Nigeria Governors Spouses Forum to see how more states can extend maternity leave for the mothers and even paternity leave for fathers as well. Because we have, with the team now strengthening what works, for example, in Lagos State, they have 6 months maternity leave for the mother and then 2 weeks paternity leave. And they have one of the highest breastfeeding rate in Nigeria now. They have a 57.4%, which is good news. Osun State has 60% as well, which is another good news. They have actually exceeded the WHO UNICEF rate of exclusive breastfeeding. So which means we have to strengthen what works. We have to make sure more states can actually have extended maternity leave up to 6 months. Then we're also talking about the support from the hospital, for example. We need more trained lactation consultants. And we also realized that antenatal class is not enough for the mothers, which means we are even advocating for a breastfeeding center in most of the general hospitals so that these mothers can go there and get all the support they need. Then, of course, we're also looking at marketing of breast milk substitutes. Good news is also that Nigeria is doing well. NAFDAC has been able to put a lot of measures in place to make sure they are not misguided, and a lot of myths are actually being curbed. Then, of course, using the media as well, we can see the media is doing a lot. We thank Channel CV for actually also supporting the Breastfeeding Week, and also trying to make sure the myths and misconceptions are addressed. Looking at some people say, oh, my breast milk is not just sufficient for my baby, and that's why I have to give formula and all that. So with awareness campaign, what we're doing during this week, we are able to reach more people through the media, through visits to hospital, through stakeholder engagements and all that, and then the public generally, letting them know the importance of breastfeeding and why it is a collective responsibility and not just for the family, and also letting them know this is what investing into. The government of Nigeria must invest in making sure breastfeeding works for every Nigerian mother.
Dr. Alonga, I wanted you to very quickly discuss, a woman's psychological, perspective, to breastfeeding. There's some women who go through postpartum depression and really do not feel like carrying the child or touching the child, but they must breastfeed. They're looking for a reason to, to do it, but they really can't find it because they're so depressed due to what the changes their bodies have gone through. How do you encourage women like that?
Yeah, I think that's where support comes in again from the family. That's why our campaign goes beyond even the mother, but to the family, looking at the grandparents, even the husband. We carry everybody along now, but most especially the health workers. They have a role to play, which means they must be available to support these mothers. And my organization has even gone ahead to fill that gap by training, we call them peer mother supporters. These are mothers who are experienced in breastfeeding and who have been able to we've trained them so that they can, in their various communities and LGAs and all that, they can also support mothers within that space. My organization also has a platform which we call the Child Nutri-Moms, where we have professionals, lactation consultants, pediatricians, and other professionals who give them support from time to time. So I think most women would overcome this if they get the support from the health workers and organizations like us. Yeah. And the good news, like I said, Nigeria is doing averagely well. Countries like Rwanda, they are close to about 80%. They're about exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, even Sri Lanka. And that's why we should look at countries like that. What is working for them? What can we kind of look at and also introduce into our work for us? But I must say Nigeria is doing relatively very well. The Lagos State, Osun State, they are even above 50% now compared to some other countries.
That is really good news, and I'm sure that we're looking forward to a healthier generation coming up behind us. Thank you so much, Dr. Lola Alonga, for speaking with us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So we're off to the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, where blind and visually impaired students are returning to the classrooms after 3 years of war. Despite their school being left in ruins, students have resumed lessons at Al-Noor Institute, where Braille education has restarted just weeks after the center reopened. The civil war left the school severely damaged, destroying its Braille printing press, specialized computer labs, and most of its educational equipment. The conflict began in April 2023. It's displaced millions of people, but for the students, the reopening of their school offers a rare symbol of hope amid the devastation. Yes, and the AFCON now. Cameroon has taken a major step towards the knockout stage of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, edging Ghana in a 1-0 hard-fought Group D clash in Morocco. Fans of both nations gathered outside the Moulay Rachid complex in Casablanca as Cameroon secured their second straight victory of the tournament. Supporters praised the team's discipline and game plan, while Ghanaian fans remained optimistic, saying their side could bounce back with improved performance. The result moves Cameroon to the top of the Group D with 6 points. Ghana remains second on 3, ahead of Mali on group goal difference. Cabo Verde is yet to pick a point.
Because they scored a goal and we lost this game, but in the next game it will be much better. We are taking this as
how are you feeling as
Like, it's something bad, but I think that if we work on this, we'll be much better.
And as we draw to a close, did you know Djibouti is home to one of the lowest places on Earth? Lake Assal sits about 155 meters below sea level, making it the lowest point in Africa and one of the saltiest lakes in the world. Its crystal white salt flats and turquoise waters create an otherworldly landscape that attracts scientists and adventurous travelers alike. It's a place where you can stand at Africa's lowest point while surrounded by one of the continent's most extraordinary natural wonders. And now you know. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi. Bye.